is suffering from depression. He's 19 years old. He's at college. And, I mean, with that, like, what I'm doing is praying for him. But I feel, I don't know, like, I know that God is answering, he's going to answer on his time. But, like, meanwhile, I'm just waiting, looking at him now, going through psychiatric and asking for pills. And now, for first time, he's on pills. And I know what does that mean.
Sure,
like being on
sure. Thank you. I really appreciate the question. And listen, my heart goes out to you as a parent. I'm a parent of 5, and depression has struck my family, and I've personally suffered from depression, and I know how difficult it can be both to suffer this and also to try to live with and care for someone else who's suffering from it. So you really have my sympathy and a great deal of understanding, and I know you're in a difficult position, and you love your child, and you want to know how to help them, and maybe you don't know how, and that can be deeply frustrating. So I really, really do understand, and I really, really, really appreciate you, and thank you for your care for him. There are a lot of things that we can do and talk about when dealing with depression religiously. Depression is often, not always, but it's often the result of a sense of meaninglessness or alienation or being lost that is very common with 19-year-olds who leave and go to college. They're in a new environment. They're separated from their loved ones, from their friends from high school. Mm-hmm. The college experience is not well designed to create a sense of coherence or meaning. It's more like a buffet of everything, and a lot of it is drivel, and it doesn't seem to convey any sort of coherence or meaning or direction to your life. It's sort of on you to curate these various pieces into some sort of coherent pattern, and there's really no help from the university at all to do that. And everything ideologically about the university really undermines that path. So it's a time when a lot of young people have a crisis of depression, mm-hmm. and their peers, to deal with that, often turn to very unhealthy behaviors. They turn to sexual escapades, drugs and alcohol, heavy video game use, lots of media, ideological factions and ideological possession of one kind or another. So their ways of coping are deeply maladaptive. And mm-hmm. so it really is a kind of a tumultuous time to be a 19-year-old in college in the United States today. So it's understandable. Now, I think here's the path forward. So it's not bad that your son has psychiatric care. That's not bad. And look, I'm no psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I cannot give advice in that regard. But as a layperson who's read a lot of this literature, there is some value in antidepressant medication. It can help some people. But I also think that the data show, from what I understand, that you're better off doing that in conjunction with some form of therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, where people learn to actually deal with their negative emotions and maybe dispute them and come to see their reality in a different light, where they can be a little bit more appreciative of what's going on, maybe not have to carry the weight so heavily as they do. So therapy is helpful. If you can get into Catholic Family Services or some form of Catholic therapy, I think that's even better. Sometimes with the secular therapists, you never quite know where they're going to send mm-hmm. you. I wouldn't absolutely rule out that could be helpful, but I would look into maybe what Catholic Family Services or some Catholic counseling centers
maybe a little more focused.
Yeah, and mm-hmm. Tom, don't we have some resources? We may not. Dr. Popchak, doesn't he have some places people can call?
He does. Also, Dr. Ray Garendi. I think they both participate in several ways, including online, mm-hmm. Online counseling. That can be very, very helpful.
So listener
as well.
Services probably have more detail on that, right? So
You
I would call them
it.
for some resources on counseling. Yep. I would also really encourage your son to get involved socially. In the church as much as possible, but any kind of social involvement is usually very helpful in dealing with depression. I don't know if your college campus has a chapter of Focus, the Fellowship of Catholic University Students, small groups that get together and study Scripture and pray.
Fantastic.
And that kind of belonging really does go a long way towards helping with depression. I would say exercise. If he's just kind of sitting in his dorm room feeling down, there's a good research showing that just exercise by itself gets those endorphins flowing and can improve the neurotransmitters in the brain that mm-hmm. regulate depression. So exercise is a helpful outlet. And then you may have limited ability to influence this at a distance, but if he wants to listen to this call, hear from somebody who was myself a depressed 19-year-old, and I know what he's going through, I would say by all means, cancel every social media account. Just get off of Facebook, get off of Twitter, get off of Instagram, get off of all that stuff. And again, the data are pretty clear that the higher use of social media we have, the more depression goes up by and large, of course, across the culture. So just don't encourage them to get off of social media. Most movies and television these days is going to make you depressed. You know, it may distract you from your depression for a few minutes, but it's going to fill your mind with stuff that's going to further destabilize you down the line. So healthy social outlets, healthy physical activity, healthy social connections, good therapy and counseling, good friends, and getting up and away from your computer screen and away from social media. All of these are things that we can do to help with depression.